Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Friends Occasionally Not Disagreeing, the Fawn Pod, the Fawncast. This is Cody, by the way, and I'm here with Dave and Justin, and we are
Hello.
talking about a
Hello.
little indie, I guess this is indie, to my knowledge at least, little indie
Yeah.
video game tonight. And before we get into Dave's big secret
It's
that
not
he's
a
about to
secret.
reveal to the world,
Jesus
let's
Christ.
He's Batman.
yeah, let's ask Dave what he's been up to. Dave, what have you been doing?
Not much. Just working. Although we, my family has been cast in a musical, a holiday musical, which is an interesting turn of events because we are not play people. I haven't been in a play since eighth grade, so and now I'm playing Bob, the husband. I don't know. It's hard to describe, but it'll be an interesting experience. And my wife is in it, and my two kids are in it. And I think it'll be a good family experience. So even though this kind of snuck up on us as a little twisty life event we didn't expect, it'll be good. How about you guys? What's going on with you?
I mean, just on that note, Dave, I was going to say one nice thing about that is sometimes when you have to take like your kids to a practice or a rehearsal or something, you're like, oh God, I got to go out and take them to this thing one more time. But now, since you all have to be there anyway, you're like, oh, I guess we're all going to the same thing. It's one trip for
That's
everybody.
true. Except I think there's going to be depending on what scene is being practiced, there might be days
Oh
where
yeah,
we don't all have to go. I'm thinking there might be days where my wife and I have to go. My kids don't technically have to be there, but they're gonna get dragged along anyway because we're not
interesting.
getting a babysitter for that. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
I didn't even think about. Well, when does this play debut?
It's like mid-November. It's like a Christmas play.
And when does it run till?
I'm not giving details. This is not.
And where in
I don't.
Chicago would we see this play?
It's fictional. I made it up. Don't worry about it.
We'll get the details on that next episode.
We're very much like not inviting people to come see us because I don't know. It's just
You don't want us
weird.
to review the play on the
Oh my
pod?
Thought the adults were terrible, but the kids were a joy.
That would be hilarious. That's funny, Justin.
Thanks.
That's a good one.
That's really
What's up
funny.
with you, Justin? What's new with you?
Well, I've been trying to play Baldur's Gate 3, but we keep getting ideas for other stuff that kind of requires my attention for the pod, which is actually okay. So I spent some time playing through the game we're going to be talking about today, and I have started the one. Well, we're not going to be doing it, I don't think, next week, but later on in Spooktober, we're going to be doing a another game that I
Did you already start that?
I did.
This is how you stay ahead, you dog.
It turned out I had it on in my Steam library already.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like, oh sure, I'll give it a go. And I'm not going to say what it is because it'll be a surprise, but it's got a very interesting concept, and I'm enjoying it so far. But
okay.
yeah, so stay tuned for that one in a couple of weeks here. Other than
Nice.
that, just kind of business as usual. What about you, Cody?
Well, just a couple things I'll highlight here. The family and I are at that weird period where we are kind of between TV shows again. So we finished our Stranger Things watch through all 4 seasons with the kids, which showed up in my. Actually, it was a podcast. I was listening to one of our old podcasts, and it basically took us like a year and 2 weeks to finish Stranger Things, the first 4 seasons. So I didn't realize we had been watching it that long, but we pause every time another show comes on, so.
It's aged in real time.
Yeah, right. So basically, we just finished that, and we are all caught up on Ahsoka again. And Loki doesn't come out till next month, and the family will get back into The Masked Singer here next week as well. So we're kind of at the lull. So tonight for dinner, I was like, we got to go back to Lock and Key, season 2 of Lock and Key. So that's what we started tonight for dinner. So we got a new season of that spooky show that we're checking out in the background as well. And beyond that, it's kind of just been like panic and realization setting in that I don't feel like I have enough done for Halloween at this point. And this school year has been absolutely brutal in terms of the demanding effort of me this year for traveling and new classes. And
Ooh.
new preps and brand new classes, and it's just like every day has felt like survival mode until I go to bed or lay down at like 10 o'clock, and then I'm like, ugh, and then the next day it's the same thing. So
Oh, geez.
I need to get on that, but I think I did maybe kind of sort of commit to a Halloween costume today, so that's exciting if nothing else. But we'll see. I made the poor decision probably to pick a costume that I'm going to have to make myself, so time-wise that was not good. Kieran was like, don't do that, just buy something at this point, and I was like, God, you're probably right, but
that's what I ended up doing, if it's any consolation. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Cody, if only it wasn't too late to change, or like, why are you sticking with this if you know it's a terrible idea? Is the point that I'm getting at.
Because part of me always thinks that they wanted to have this be the costume, so I don't know.
Oh no.
We'll see.
Okay.
It's so hard to attach tentacles, but we'll make it work. It's most of the people will enjoy it, at least, so there's that. All right, well, that's what I can think of, I guess. Oh, also one more thing for me real quick. Two more things for me real quick, and I'm sorry for taking up more time here, but this is going to drop on Monday, and I randomly asked a coworker of mine if they wanted to go to Chicago with me to watch the Aztec wrestling play that's performing at the Goodman starting next weekend, and randomly they talked to their husband and were like, yeah, our whole family's in, and I was like,
Nice.
Okay. So I already had the kids basically going with me. And so this really amazing thing happened where I told Karen, we're ordering tickets and her whole family is coming. Do you want to go? And she gave in and said yes. So
Nice.
she is going to a wrestling related event, even though it is a stage play, but still. So there's that. And then the last thing I want, a 2-second cheap plug is there is another upcoming holiday play that I'm really looking forward to. It has a lot of roles for both young and old alike. So as soon as I get details on that, I'll be sure to tell everybody about that one. It's a local play.
Okay, wonderful.
I'm just kidding.
You don't know shit. You're not going to know shit.
I'll ask your mom.
Oh, no.
She'll tell me in 2 seconds.
She actually will. Oh, no. I didn't think this through at all.
It's fun. All right, everybody. Well, we're here today to look at an indie game, which I guess I didn't ask for sure. I played on the Switch. What did you guys play this on?
I did the Switch.
PC here.
And on PC? Okay, great. So that I like when we get multi-platform too. That's nice too. So
yeah.
But this is going to be a game that came out surprisingly just on September 5th is the release date on this. And so we not only played it basically when it came out, but finished it and are recording this well within the first month that it's been out. So pretty topical.
We're actually current.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yay.
Yeah, this is a game called Chants of Sennaar. That's Cants, Chants, not chance with a CNCE at the end there. Chants, like, I guess chants or chant. Chants of Sennaar. This is by a developer called Rundisc and published by Focus Entertainment. As mentioned, it's brand new, so we can talk about later on as well, but it was interesting when I tried to look up much about this game earlier, like there's not a lot on this game out there because it is both an indie game and brand new. So
also the fact that it came out during, let's be honest, 2023 is just an incredible year for games so far. I mean, between things like Starfield and Baldur's Gate 3, does anyone even remember Diablo 4 or anything like that? Other big name titles that were huge when they first dropped, and then they've been forgotten because there's just something else bigger and better along the way. So I'm glad we're
anything's better than a new Zelda game. So
oh yeah, that one.
That's easy.
I can't even defend it because we haven't had time to get back into it at all. And that's just I'm so disappointed by that.
But yeah, so I'm glad that we're taking some time to highlight a smaller title, because even some of the big names are just getting swept under the rug by just the juggernauts that have come out within the past month or two. So it's just been a jam-packed year for games, and some are a lot better known than others.
We need is like somebody to drop a Mario game the next month. That'd be nice. Just throw that on the pile also.
Sega.
It'll never happen.
Yeah, it'll never happen. Okay, so Chants of Sennaar. Just looked for a few scores here before we started recording. This has a 10 out of 10 on Steam at the moment. Has an 85 overall on Metascore, or its Metascore rather on Metacritic is 85. And Nintendo Life, which focuses primarily on Nintendo versions of things, has a 7 out of 10 on this. So it seems to be a little wiggle room here in terms of the reviews from users and critics. It's interesting. Steam is 10 out of 10, and the Nintendo platform base reviewing site is 7 out of 10, but we'll talk about that maybe today. And let's see. I don't know. Do we want to do just a little bit of non-spoilery talk, or do you want to just go right into this and gut it out?
I mean, we could start by saying what the game is about, like its basic premise, and yeah.
All right, why don't you take it, Justin? Well, how about before that, even when we showed you the trailer? So I shared a trailer with everybody. I mean, you two signed on for this, and usually when we come up with the podcast idea, it's like, who's interested in this one? Here's a random idea. So why did you two both think that this was a game you wanted to play based on that trailer?
Well, for me, it's a puzzle game that centers all around language, and I had never really seen that before. So just from the perspective of how different and fresh the idea was, that it really hooked me right away. And the visual style was pretty nice, but it was pretty much that main hook that really got me interested. So
okay, how about you, Dave?
Yeah, it's absolutely the two things that Justin just said. The language puzzles seemed interesting. The graphic style looked great. And I also really enjoyed the Return of Obra Dinn. I was late to the game on that one, but I did end up beating it. I got the platinum for it on PlayStation, and very much enjoyed it. And so the fact that this game borrows from that a bit with the book was something that appealed to me as well.
Awesome. Yeah, I kind of chime in with the same thing you are all saying here. Just look different to me, which is, if it can look different and be kind of puzzle based, that was something I was definitely intrigued in to try this. And well, we'll talk about whether that was successful or not. But Justin, I think you mentioned the visuals a little bit in the game too, and I think they could have handled the visuals in this game a different way or two, but I think the way they chose was really easy to see. It was crisp, and it was, you could tell what was happening really easy with the graphic style in the game. Let's see here. I don't want to say those yet. All right, let's go to well, let's do some initial impressions here. So Justin, you want to tell us maybe just a little summary of what the game is?
Sure.
If that's possible to put into words.
Yeah, I will start by saying it's, I think, the third game I've played where you start waking up on a slab with no idea where you are or what you're doing, joining the ranks of Planescape Torment and Shadowrun for the SNES. Very different game from either of those, but it's interesting that that's a motif that I've seen more than once. So yeah, basically you are...
Forgot Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah. So fourth.
No clue what was happening in that game.
But so yeah, you're this cloaked figure who wakes up just sort of on a stone slab. You're not given any clue as to really who you are, where you are, why you're there, but you just try to find your way out of the room, and you find the first puzzle, which is like a lever with some glyphs on the wall that's you can't really read, but you can kind of infer what they mean, and that's kind of kicks you off on this grand journey that is sort of parallel to the Tower of Babel, where it's all about how languages distance us, but at the same time, underneath it all, we're not really all that different from each other. And we should really focus more on the similarities than the superficial differences that keep us apart. And by the end of it, this became one of the most go outside and touch grass sorts of games that I've ever played, because that is kind of the ultimate message of it. Like there's there is more that connects us than divides us, and you should get out there and experience that, is really what the ultimate message of the game is.
Okay, nice.
Mhm.
Yeah, so anything you want to add, Dave, about basics for the game?
Nope.
I guess we could say, I don't know if it's overly spoilery, I don't think so, but the game, as Justin mentioned, you're kind of going up in a tower, and each stage kind of has its own little different graphics are the same, but the stages are presented in different ways. Like you see different societies as you're climbing the tower, and you meet different groups of people, and they each have their own language, sometimes with their own language rules that are unique to their people. And so a lot of this game is in translating the glyphs you see on the wall, or a statue, or a sign, or a poster, or whatever it may be, as well as dialogue from people that you meet as you're walking around. And then there's opportunities, as the game goes on, to combine one language into another language, and you start to find similarities and differences between two different people with how they structure their sentences. And yeah, it's like a puzzle on top of a puzzle, because you now are not only trying to translate what these symbols mean in like the new world, but you're also at times trying to relate to what they might mean in the old world as well. So the game kind of builds on itself that way, although not entirely as I would have thought, but we'll get to that in a minute here. Okay, let's see. Anything else we want to say here before we jump into spoilery territory?
Not
Nothing from me.
Yeah. I mean, anything I would want to say kind of does deal with the details of various parts of the game. So
Okay. Well, as some of these episodes, audience, we do kind of give you like a little general feeling of our impression of what the game is before we get into specifics, but I think we're going to hold off here on that. So if you are interested in the little tidbit we've given you on this linguistic puzzle game is something you're interested in, pause us and go check out Chants of Sennaar, and then come back and see what we thought about it as we continue on here. So this point forward, we'll do full spoilers. And let's just start with Dave. What's your big beef with this game? No, I'm joking. We can start with anything here, though. So do you want to start with pros or cons, or where do you want to go with this? Storyline, or is there something anybody wants to toss out?
we can start with pros unless someone wants to take a different approach.
Pros
Yeah,
it
sure.
is.
All right. So since I am the one talking, I guess I'll continue. So I love the concept of this game because it's in the same sort of puzzle game, adventure game family as something like The Witness, where it takes one type of puzzle and just builds upon it and extrapolates it and just keeps iterating on it for the entirety of the game. In The Witness, it was line puzzles, and which sounds incredibly simple, but by the end, it was really, really complex and interesting. Here, it's all about language, and sometimes translating one language to another by way of a third in a roundabout sort of way. And it's just, I really liked the amount of creativity they put into all the various ways of learning how to rudimentarily communicate with the various peoples of this tower. And that's my first pro, I guess. We can kind of like do this round robin style.
Sure.
Next.
Yeah,
go ahead,
I
Dave.
really enjoyed a lot of the language puzzle parts, especially early on when you're writing in. I spent a lot more time early in the game writing in what I thought the words meant. That kind of fades a little bit later, but that was enjoyable. And then kind of seeing if you were right. I liked how when you did write something, and then when you came across it, they would present it as meaning that, but with a question mark, so you can kind of differentiate between what you're sure of and what you're not. I also liked how the different languages had different structures. I liked how the glyphs, sometimes you could just tell what it was just by looking at the shape of it, or like all the numbers in that one language were kind of similar. All of the different metals in the one language were kind of similar. If something represents a building, it has like a box around the glyphs. Little patterns like that were really fun to find and to use as part of the translation. I think that's all I have for now.
Yeah, just kind of pick up on both those. I had a lot of fun with how the game made you try to determine what the words were, because I found this game, we could talk about this maybe more later with your opinions, but I thought the game actually got easier as it went, but it's because I was much worse at trying to guess what the words were in the beginning of the game, to the point where like I was putting in what I thought they were down there, and it was like nowhere near what the actual word turned out to be. So we'd have, if you haven't played this, they every once in a while will bring this book up with the glyphs on both sides and some images, and you have to, or I should say, empty spots next to images, and you have to put in the correct glyphs to kind of create your own dictionary of the language, if you will. And the times where like it filled it in, and I had words like 100% accurate, I was like, yes, like I got it perfect. But then there was, there'd be other times where like I knew the glyph had repeated here and there, and I would use it, and I'd have it as like help, and it would be like this meant death, and I was like, whoop, okay, but I still get credit for it, so that's cool. I like that you could, like the game didn't check you if you were correct, just if you knew kind of how it was used in the language.
Mm-hmm.
So, you got any more, Justin?
Sure. Let's see. So we mentioned there were going to be spoilers. So periodically throughout the game, you'll find these little like warp terminals is the best way I can describe them.
Mm-hmm.
And initially, it just seems like, okay, you can see where you are in the tower. You can warp between them. There's a middle section that's very anomalous for like 3/4 of the game.
Yeah.
And then some of them have a third section where it's like you see the pictures of two people and a line of dialogue in one language, and sometimes it'll just be like entirely blank for the rest of it. And but when I noticed, when I got to one where I suddenly realized, oh, okay, I've got glyphs on the right-hand side here that I can use that are in a different language. So I look at what the person's saying, and then it's like, oh, okay, maybe I need to translate this for the person they're talking to. And when that clicked, and I was actually able to facilitate communication between these two people who couldn't understand each other, that was just really cool to me. And that was one of the big sort of aha moments of the game, and I really enjoyed those sections personally. So that was one of my biggest pros about the game. Just that discovery of that's what this actually does, and realizing that you could sort of facilitate change in the tower itself. That was really neat, I thought.
Yeah, I'd agree with that exact point, Justin, because for me, those were some of the hardest puzzles in the game, and it was because some languages didn't have words that the other languages had, or conversely, they had like a different term they used for something that the other ones had. And so, there was one or two times when like I had quit playing the game for the night or whatever, just stuck on one of those, and I was like, I don't understand. Like I've tried you, I've tried me, I've tried person, I've tried bard, I've tried musician, I've tried,
Yeah.
and I just didn't understand what the other people called some of the other groups on the tower until much later in the game. But eventually it's strong arm through all of them. But it was fun because I thought that also kind of represented how different languages have like words to describe different things and other languages don't, like what do they always say? Like Inuits have like 47 ways to say snow or something, and other cultures don't have the word snow. It was kind of made me think of that a little bit.
That's a bullshit fact. That's like not a real thing.
They call it snow, 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 snoo,
snoo,
snoo. That might be different.
Regarding the languages, even just the different way that they pluralized things. I mean, it's such a small thing.
Yeah, that was fun.
It was different between I think every language in the game, and it's like there was a lot to wrap your head around, but it was cool.
I like the one that was like, if you want to say pots, you just say pot pot. Like you just repeat the word. I was like, that's so simple, but it works.
Yeah.
Also, according to the Washington Post, there's actually 50 words for snow in the Inuit language. So there's that.
I guess I was wrong.
One region in Canada has 53, and the counterpart in Siberia has 40, apparently. So there's.
I thought I read that that's like a total myth. That's just like a fun thing people say that's not at all true. But good on you for doing the research.
Wet snow on ice is on sleigh runners. So Matsaruti.
Matsaruti.
as you were. What else you got, Dave? Any other positives? That's just one for you.
That is it for my list of positives about this game.
Oh,
This could be fun. This could be fun. Justin, what else you got? Anything else over there?
I feel like I need to say more because I think Dave and I are going to be at odds here.
Well, I can do a couple if you want to take a moment there.
Yeah.
So again, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but one of the things I really enjoyed was just how different the stages were from stage to stage, with focus on different types of puzzles or how they communicate, or like I was pretty sure the Bard people just straight out hated me because I thought I didn't know what they were saying and they were just laughing at me nonstop, and which is kind of true but kind of not true at the same time. But I thought the stages were fun. I don't know if, I guess just we're talking just purely positive negatives here.
Mm-hmm.
No, you know what? I'm going to save this one for later because I feel like this is its own little thing here. But the puzzles for me were definitely a positive of the game. And there were some puzzles that did also frustrate me in different ways in the game as well. So both a positive and a negative for me. And I can talk more about the negative here in a minute. But
yeah, same. There were
you got any other, Justin? Sorry.
I was just going to agree with you that some of the puzzles were not the best, simply because they were somewhat ambiguous as to what you were trying to do. But we'll get to that. I do want to go back to the visual style for a bit because it's been a while since I've seen a game this hyper saturated with color. Not every area is bright and vibrant, but so many of them are just like this, very warm yellows and magentas, and just very bold choices for colors that made it really kind of pop for me. It just felt like one of the most visually distinct games I've played in a bit, and since you can't see anything during this podcast, like we can't put up images for you listening at home, it does also have kind of a cell shaded look, so it's it's a very striking looking game, and I do have to give kudos for them doing a lot with what objectively are rather few colors. So yeah, that's probably the last major positive that I can think of.
Yeah, I like the way the game looked. I hadn't considered the saturation, but I know our old friend Matt from Michigan used to tell me that my color blindness was partially overcome by the saturation level in things. And I had no problems with this game at all. So I wonder if there is a little bit of that. I hadn't thought about that, but you might be right. Somebody was saying something. Yeah, no? No? Okay. I'm just going to throw in a couple more positives here. This is from Nintendo Life on their review. They gave 3 positives here for the game overall. They said, first of all, a great soundtrack, which I didn't particularly notice in retrospect thinking about the soundtrack. I don't remember if it was good or bad, but they really liked it, I guess. They praised the exceptionally realized language mechanics for their second one, and their third one, they said great world design and art direction. So some overlap with some of the comments I'm hearing here.
Yeah, I'll agree with those.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get to cons. Dun, dun, dun. Con!
It seemed like you had one, that you were on the verge of saying just a bit ago. So did you want to start with these, Cody?
I can start with this, but I'm not going to give that one away yet because I'm going to save that for right after these. But I mentioned this in the chat with you guys, but one of the things that really bothered me playing this game on the Switch is it felt like there were times where I was mysteriously supposed to know to hold the A button versus tap the A button, because most of the actions in the game are like, here's the door, tap A, here's this person to talk to, tap A, here's this thing, tap A. But there were a lot of puzzles that were like, hold down A and rotate the joystick to move this dial. And I'm like, well, how the fuck was I supposed to know to hold A to rotate anything in this game? Because I'd never held A up to this point before. And, thankfully, after I suffered through that first puzzle, which I don't remember what it was now, but I know I like left and came back to it like 3 times. And I was like, I don't know how to do this puzzle. Like nothing is working here. But once I at least knew it from that puzzle, when I'd get to another puzzle, I'd immediately try to hold down A and then see if I could move different pieces around on the puzzle. And that did solve like 4 more as the game went on. But it's kind of into... Go ahead, Dave.
I agree that they should have had some sort of UI thing to help you understand that. But basically, I don't know. It's anytime you want to like hold and move something, you just had to hold it down. I didn't stumble into that, but I stumbled into lots of other issues. So I'm right
That
there
makes
with you.
sense, I guess, the way you described that.
And from my side of things, as a PC gamer, I didn't run into any of that because it was all pretty much mouse interface. So if there was like a dial and I clicked it and it did nothing, I just clicked and dragged, and it just was very intuitive from my side of things. So that's an interesting dichotomy there between using a controller and using a mouse for interaction.
I mean, but even just
So,
then, you just said that you clicked everything and then you clicked and drags on those parts. So did you
well,
try to initially click and it didn't do anything? So you started to drag?
I might have at one point, but it was a matter
Yeah.
of click, nothing happens, and then if it looked like it moved at all, it would just click and pull, and it was just sort of a natural
So
progression.
I'm assuming like when you were opening doors and talking to people and everything, that was just a quick click of the mouse, though.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Like I would move the mouse over an exit, and it would change to like the little exit icon, and just click, and then he went there. So it was it's a very different interface from what I'm hearing, which
this is
interesting.
both a pro and a con, but just a tiny point. I couldn't understand why when you walked to like a door, the button popped up that you could like press, and I was like, "Who the fuck needs to press a button to just walk through this door?" Because I realized it did the same thing. But as the game kept going on, there, I don't know, I found myself like having a harder time aiming my guy through the door for some reason when I was in different parts, and I was like, "Thank God, there's buttons here I can click to walk through the door." Because
Did you guys use, and to what extent, the quote unquote hint system in the game? Where
what's the hint
so
system?
on the Switch, if you hold down the R trigger, it will put a little black dot over everything that you can interact with on the screen. And you can toggle it in the menu so that instead of holding it down, you just press it once and it'll toggle it on, toggle it off.
I used it once when I was just running around not sure where to go, and I realized I had just missed a path kind of off in the distance that was sort of hard to see unless you were looking for it.
Okay.
And so that highlighted it. I'm like, oh, and so I go there and I'm like, okay, that's where I need to go next. But that was the only time I really used it personally.
I didn't know it existed, so I didn't use it.
Interesting. I used it. I toggled it so that it was just on all the time because I found it necessary in this game to know what could be interacted with, what couldn't. There's a section in the second level where you have to pick up a torch and then use it in the next room to light the darkened room. I did not know that torch was something you could interact with. It simply looked like scenery, and spent about 90 minutes trying to figure out what to do, including backtracking to the previous level because I knew I needed a lens, and that thing that you bring into the church to slide those things around, it was called a lens, and it was the right shape that I appeared to need. So I was like, oh, I have to go back to the church to get the lens. Anyway, that was some of that was just me being dumb. Some of that was just me not understanding that torch could be picked up. And once that happened to me, I just turned that system on entirely, which, by the way, I don't think should be called hints because maybe I'm wrong because you guys got through it without it or barely using it. I thought it to be absolutely necessary in this game.
Again, I think that's something that highlights the difference between the console and the PC experience, because with the mouse, it just you could just hover it, swipe it over like everything in the scene, and when you moved over something that was usable, the cursor would change. So that is a very different experience on console. I wouldn't have even considered that before talking to you guys.
Yeah,
Cody, I'm impressed that you made it through without using that.
The only time I needed help was when I was talking in the chat a few times, and Justin was kind of giving me like some vague hints as to where to go next type thing. Yeah, but otherwise I was okay. But I feel like I got lucky a few times with some of the things that happened. Like there was the third stage with the bards, I think, or it was the fourth stage. I don't remember. The one where they had the little monkeys that were
Right.
like you had to feed them the peppers or whatever they were, and I just
Mhm.
randomly like was next to a tree and was like, what is this thing hanging from the tree? And I like picked it, and that was the first pepper that you needed. And then so I was like, oh, there's stuff on trees everywhere. That's weird. And then I fed like one to the monkey, and he started chewing on it, and I was like, oh shit, I better watch this thing like 6 times before he finishes that fucking pepper. And he never finishes the pepper, as it turns out. But I was collecting all the ones I could see, so I had 3 of them, and I was like, oh, I guess I only need 3 of them. So like there was stuff like that where I just feel like I got a little bit lucky as far as what to do where. But
I never found the peppers.
you never did the
Wait,
monkeys?
what did you feed the monkeys?
Yeah, I never fed the monkeys. I saw
You-
them. They yelled at me, but I never found anything to feed them.
You
How
never did the things?
No. I mean, I was able to
What?
look at the symbols on the front, but I never actually was able to interact with them because the monkeys just
Oh,
yelled
if
at
you
me.
give the monkeys food, then a little like figure pops up out of each one of those 3 things,
Huh.
and you can kind of see like, oh, this is a
Wow.
warrior holding a sword.
That would have made that
kind of
section a
thing.
lot easier.
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, I would think so.
Jesus.
You missed
Wow.
like 9 parts of the information from not doing that. So
Yeah, I had to kind of just infer and guess at a lot of stuff in that section because I guess because I never gave the monkeys their damn peppers.
I did that later with the telescope. And you are supposed to put the lens in the telescope, and then you look up and you see how the stars are now shaped like the glyphs. But I had, before I even got there, I had seen that, oh, these glyphs, so we knew which there was a series of symbols, and there were a series of stars, like constellations without the lines drawn. And I could see, okay, with this set of stars, you could draw this glyph. With this set of stars, you could draw this glyph. And so I just connected the dots, pun intended,
Yeah.
on my own. And then by the time I got the telescope, I was like, oh, I already fucking knew that.
Hmm.
So
I feel like I might have did that as well at the telescope, because I don't remember the telescope being useful at all.
I think I ended up taking the same route, oddly enough.
when we're talking
Um,
about the monkeys, I thought that the monkeys are a good example of another minor complaint of mine. Where some of the stuff was just anti-thematic, like within the world of the game, the context of this world, what are those monkeys there for? Like they're clearly there to teach language to people who don't know the language, but you're the only person who doesn't know the language.
Children,
So
maybe?
who has set up these monkeys, and what is their end game?
Interesting. Yeah.
That's a fair point.
There were a few other things like that in the game where I was like, oh, this is just here for me, the player, and doesn't really make sense in the context of this world.
Okay.
Um,
Another thing for me was I mentioned some of the puzzles I really liked, and some of them didn't work for me as well. And a really good example of that, I thought there was a good balance, and I thought the ones that were hard were just hard enough for me to struggle with a little bit, and then I'd eventually figure out what it was supposed to do. But like I'll call it the last puzzle. There might have been stuff after that, but where you have to like mix and make the metals to the right quantities. Oh my God, that was like that was a nightmare, because I saw that note that was on like that desk next to the hat or whatever, and it had like all this shit scribbled on it. And I'm like, if I'm supposed to pay attention to any of that little writing, like it's not happening, and it was kind of like just through the what do you make? You make like a something with the symbol. Maybe I don't remember. Made a key or some formula or something you did with the flipping on the 4 sides of the thing. And so I kind of learned what the number system was just from that thing, and then kind of powered through like how to make the metal. But like, I don't know if that's how you're supposed to do that. I'm pretty sure you're supposed to use all the notes that they give you to try to solve the quantities of weights that you put on the thing to make the right metal amounts to get the, what is it? It ends up being like the little key thing you shove in the door where the fairies locked the door or whatever. But I was like, is this supposed to be this obtuse or not? I don't really know. Like I, again, did it through trial and error, but
it took me a few times, but I don't remember that one being as bad. maybe I just intuited the way the numbers worked a little better or something, because they are and I'm just gonna geek out a little bit here. They are just a variant on Cistercian numerals, where basically this was a way of writing numbers that was developed by monks, and I think I don't remember the year, but basically it was just a line, and then like they would have a different symbol for 1 through 9. And then if it was like on the upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right, it would be the ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands spaces. And as soon as once I realized what they were going for here, that kind of clicked with what I knew about those. And I think that made it a little easier for me, but you can't expect your average player to know what the hell Cistercian numerals are.
So you also did not use the note on the desk at all then?
I think I looked. There was like one section where it had like a notation for it, and I think I referenced it a bit, but I would have to go back and look at it to remember for sure. But I think I looked at it, but I kind of powered my way through as well.
Yeah. How about you? Remember that puzzle, Dave? Did you use the thing? Because I mean, I just looked at the notes and I was like, "There's so much little stuff scrawled on that piece of paper. If I'm supposed to make anything out of that,
There was
it is the formula, but
yeah. Are you talking about like how you're like gold, then this symbol, which means this number, silver, then this symbol, which means this number? Or are you talking about something that is more detailed than that you thought? Yeah, I'm thinking of like the scratched out formulas on the chalkboard. I was like, am I going to need to know those?
Oh, those. Yeah.
Are you talking about something like that, where it's like some detail that was just a detailed element that you didn't actually need?
Yeah, well, yeah. So it's in that same section, but it wasn't the chalkboards, and it's not the note you find in the guy's hat, which is the one that's like, "Eureka, I got it." It's like there's like one on a desk you read, but it has like this is going to be not even enough to show, but like, oh goddamn background.
Plus, you can't show things on a podcast, Cody.
Well, I know. I'm just trying to get across. There was like what I was trying to do was Google a picture of this, but I can't find a picture of it online, of course. But it was just like this huge thing that was like, I don't know, 500 things written on a little piece of paper. And I was like,
man.
I think it was
that was not whatever that was.
Okay.
That's not necessary.
I looked at it afterwards because it does it stay in your book? I can't remember now, but it is the right answer. Like it would get you there if you followed what they had notated for you, but I'm like, you know,
I think I just remembered what you mean. Yeah, and that's not
okay.
Yeah, I could see how that would be confusing. I will say I really enjoyed this puzzle we're talking about, except for one element of it, the box that kind of teaches you how the number system works by letting you add two numbers together and see what the result is. Once I found the note in the hat and it had a symbol, I thought, great, I just need to go to that box and make it read that symbol. And I did that and nothing happened. And I thought, oh, okay, there's more to it. And for some reason I decided, even though I thought maybe this wasn't correct, I decided I had to have two numbers that added up to that, but they had to use all different digits. Like you couldn't repeat a digit. I don't know what made me think that, but I spent a while trying to do that. And then I was just like, what is this box for? I was waiting for the box to like spit out an item for me to use somewhere. It's really just for you to learn the number system. But then why have the two numbers adding up in order for you to learn the number? I kind of know why. I was very frustrated with that. I almost messaged Justin, be like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this box? I've made it display that symbol. I understand that it's the number 5039 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
What is happening here?
Yeah, that one. I did mess around with that a little more than I needed to as well. But in the end, I realized, okay, it's just showing you like what different combinations will add up to that symbol, and I kind of just left it and poked around with the actual key making machine, and yeah, that took a little bit of back and forth, and a little bit of luck, but I did eventually get that with with the clues that it was given, but that was definitely one of the more obtuse puzzles.
Yeah.
I was mad.
The one that bugged me the most, well, I mean, the puzzle, there was another section that bugged me more, but the actual puzzle that bothered me the most, towards the end of the game, when you find out that there is a big bad, and and it's trying to stop you from doing what you need to do, you end up having to go through a series of more abstract puzzles where you'll sometimes see like a picture, and sometimes it'll be like garbled and stuff, and you'll have to enter in what is happening in the picture. And there's one where it's a scientist looking at a shelf full of stuff,
The
and
potions.
yeah, and I kept trying, like, scientist finds pots, scientist finds potions, scientist looks potions, that sort of thing, and it was unclear what phrase I was supposed to put in, because any number of those could have worked. So that was a lot of just guesswork when it could have been a much clearer prompt. So when things got a bit too open-ended like that, then I felt that the cohesion of the puzzles suffered a bit.
There was one puzzle in that last part too that I really couldn't figure out either. It wasn't that one though. That one I did okay, but I don't remember which one it was. But there was some puzzle in that sequence that I was same thing. I was like, I don't know what you want me to do on this, because most of them were like find the missing words or like try to figure out what this is or where But I feel like there was one that was like another step past that for some reason, which I'm not remembering now. But
was it the one in the theater? Because I remember having a bit of an issue with that at first.
Maybe.
Too.
It might have been.
Yeah, there was like you find out everyone's gone, and you do look at the little play, and it's just like one person sadly holding up like flashcards and stuff, and you have to. I don't remember what the exact prompt was, but you go in like the back room, and there's a broken tablet that has parts of the original play, but that's not what you're looking for. And I remember having a bit of an issue with that one too.
I don't feel like that was the one either, but I don't remember. I know there was like 4 or something you did there in a row.
Yeah,
something like that. One thing, maybe it shouldn't have bothered me playing through the game. And this is not really a con, but I'm just putting it out there. Dave, you made some comment about like the monster in the game, and you were like, that fucking monster in the chat or something. And I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. I just got to where there's a monster finally, and this is going to be awful. And then like the monster was gone, and I passed him, and I was like, oh my God, he's going to come back, and like this city's going to be full of monsters. And like, what was that about?
That was because, so I just finished section 2, which has at the beginning a lot of sneaking around, which was maybe one of my least favorite parts of the game, was that sneaking around. I just don't think it was super well done and didn't really fit in with the gameplay. And then I started the 3rd level, and it was like more sneaking around, but with higher stakes this time. And I was just like, all right, I'm done for now. And I think you caught me right then.
Okay.
I'm like, oh, now it's just not just guards, it's fucking monsters. I didn't know that would be done in like 5 minutes.
Okay.
I thought that was going to be the entire 3rd level. Was just now you're running from monsters all the time.
Well, you know how in that 4th stage there was like that lantern you had to get lit finally, which I got the lighter like very last thing in that stage. I don't know if everybody else did, but then I finally got it lit, and I went in there, and I'm like, oh my God, this must be the part Dave was talking about with the monster. Like, I'm terrified to go in this little room with the lantern. Yes. And I went in and was like, maybe not. I don't know. So, well,
sorry to have misled you there.
That was actually kind of fun because I was like, oh. Let's see here. We'll throw some more out there. Let's see. Nintendo Life's couple of cons from them. They said lack of guidance affecting playability and quality of life issues. Now, what does that mean to you as gamers? I'm not exactly sure what that means as much.
That means 2 things in this case. The hint system that I've already talked about. And this, so here's my biggest complaint about this game.
Oh, he was holding back.
Badly. Oh, I have a list still.
Okay.
It badly needed a map system because these areas are so sprawling, so labyrinthine. I might be saying that wrong. It really was frustrating. Like there were multiple times where I couldn't figure out what to do next. And the answer was just, oh, there's a second floor to the library, and you never went up those stairs. You thought you did, but you never did. And if it had some sort of thing where you could pause and imagine like a flow chart of just thumbnails of what each screen looks like. Because so many times I'm thinking, okay, I know I need to go to that room to use the lighter to go into that cave, for instance. Where the fuck was that? I don't know. Now I need to wander around for 10 minutes and sometimes in circles trying to figure out where to go. And it's just especially frustrating when like I just never took a left turn on this particular screen.
That was me. Go on. I didn't mean to.
No, that was it. That would have taken the game. I'm going to spoil some numbers here. I don't know if we're rating this from a 6 to a 9 for me. If it had a map system, it would have been greatly improved. Especially at the end, which I haven't. When the game wanted me to go visit all the purple doors on all the previous stages, I was mad because I was like, I played that like a week ago. I played that first level and I was lost then. There's no way I remember how to get to a warp point, where that warp point is going to take me, where it drops me, and where the purple door is relative to that.
With those,
tell me I missed something. Tell me I'm dumb.
I think you might have missed something.
At least with those, did you have the artifact, like the cylinder?
What's the cylinder?
What are you talking about?
I think it was a cylinder. Basically it's
the key. You mean the key for the key for the purple doors?
Yeah. It would like beep at you.
It beeps when you go on the screens.
Yeah,
and it beeps.
As you get closer, and then it beeps faster.
If you're going the right direction, it beeps quicker, and if you're going the wrong direction, it beeps slower.
Yeah.
Okay, I would have loved some visual indication of that because I played this game while like listening to Spotify.
Oh, I didn't. So did it have like a little?
The corner thing maybe lit up.
Like a little circle kind of went. Boop,
well, I completely missed that, but I was mad about how sprawling these levels were even before we got to that point.
It took me a quick second to realize that, but once it did, I had this because I had the same reaction you did, Dave, and I was like, I don't know where these things are at. But once I realized it was beeping, that helped a ton. And then the actual like warp map showed you which doors were closest to the 4 purple doors as well.
Yep.
That's true, but it was still like, okay, I'm here. Now, which of the 3 paths do I take? I've taken one of them. Which of the next 3 paths do I take?
I could see that being very frustrating.
I've made some choices. Now I've circled back to where I started. Fuck.
See, I have the same complaint as you, but in one specific, primarily in one specific instance, that fucking sewer area where you have to find the compass. Yeah.
I'm not even talking about the parts of the game that are literally purposefully a maze, of which there are multiple parts.
Yeah, the sewer was the worst though, because it's like you find a bunch of people up top, and even if you don't quite know what they're saying, they're clearly looking down a grate. They're like, blah, 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 blah. And then, you look down and you see like something glowing in the water. You're like, okay, I must need to go get that. But the nearest entrance to the sewer is like 3 screens away, and then it's like, okay. I think I remember I went this way, but then nope, you can't directly go this way back because the paths in the sewer are like a freaking MC Escher painting, where they go.
Good comparison.
Yeah, it just like they overlap themselves, and most of them are empty of anything useful. It's just to confuse you and waste time, and I hated that section.
And every now and then you get to the side of a door that has a lever that lets you open it. And I feel like that was the developers being like, here you go. Here's a shortcut. We'll help you out. And I'm just like, no, you just changed the maze is what you did. Like that doesn't help. That makes it worse.
Yes. Yeah, that was my least favorite part of the game by far. By far.
I think I said in the chat, I went through it once to like get from point A to point B someplace exploring, but then after that, when I went back, I had the whole book translated, and the signs literally say like go this way, 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 and then you're there.
But sometimes it's like it'll be the sign for like exit. Like
You just had to
you
just had to know the name of the place above it, which was called the what was it? Like the Aboro or something like that. I don't remember what it was called, but it wasn't the Arboretum, but it had some term.
Agora.
And if you knew
Agora.
if you knew what that building was called, you just followed the signs to that, and it just took you right to the sewer pipe where they were.
I say fuck it.
I'm with Dave on this one.
So I have one more big complaint and then one confession, which is what the Karen thing is. So the big complaint is how the translation pages worked. So I'm talking about the pages that every now and then your character has decided he knows enough stuff. He's going to make 3 or 4 drawings in the book, and then it's up to you to decide what those 3 or 4 things represent. And if once you get all of them right, then the game confirms it that you were right about those and translates them for you specifically. I thought that those never came up when I wanted them to. Either I found a situation where I thought, okay, I know a lot of stuff. I'd really love one of those pages so that I could confirm some stuff, and I was just waiting for one. Or they would pop up and I was like, oh, I don't know half of these. Am I supposed to? And then by just trying shit out, especially there were a lot of times where I knew 2 of the 3, and then I was just dropping stuff into the 3rd one. And it allows you to brute force in a way that Oberdin did not. And that I think is a detriment to the game. Because it seems to really encourage that. It's not even just like, oh, they let the players get away with it. It felt like, and I could definitely be wrong, but it felt like that was encouraged behavior on the part of the player to brute force those solutions. Did you guys feel that same way or not so much?
For a couple of them, definitely. Like there were some where I'd get into an area, I'd find like 5 symbols, and then he'd pull out his little book. I'm like, wait, what? None of what you're drawing matches what I think any of these mean. And so there were definitely times where I kind of just left those pages blank and kind of just explored a bit more and came back to them later. But yeah, there were they did feel kind of random when they popped up.
Yeah, I don't know do we know, was it caused by where you were and what you interacted with, or was it actually caused by the fact that you knew so many of the words? Like, I don't know what the actual trigger was for those to pop up. I just figured whenever I got to something and a bunch came up, I was like, oh, one's going to pop up here,
Yeah. I would love for it to have been triggered off of like the number of things you had kind of put guesses in on and how close those guesses were. Just so you can't like just spam it with random shit.
That would have been cool.
But I don't think that was it at all. I think it was just, okay, you've interacted with enough things and been to enough places that by now you should know this.
Yeah. There was definitely both ways on that for me, because there were some that I definitely spammed. Like, I think I know 2 of the 3 or 3 of the 4 and tried to figure it out. And honestly, like for me, again, the hardest stage was probably that first stage again, just because I was terrible at taking notes and or guessing what the words were supposed to be. And then I had like 20 words and I was like, oh, I didn't record what any of these are now. And like, so then it was like really going back and like finding that one person that used that one glyph in a certain way to be like, okay, this probably means this. But then there were other times, where I could fill in 3 pages in one shot just because of how it fell, so it's
sure
uneven. But yeah. You got another one you said, Dave?
So the other one, this is what I was telling Karen the other day that she's so excited to know. Like I said, I got to the point where the game was like, you need to go back to all these purple doors. I found my way, stumbling blindly, to one of them and was presented with a picture of a man looking at either pots or potions, like you described, Justin. And I was so mad at the game already. And I tried every fucking combination of man looks at potions that I could possibly think of And it did not work. And at that point, I decided I'm not finishing this game. I'm done with this game right here. I would never like even think about presenting any kind of real opinion, especially like on a recorded podcast about a game without having finished it. But I was done. It's my own private, sad, lonely little protest against this game that I stopped it right there. And I said, that's it for me. I'm all done. So Justin, please tell me what that picture was supposed to be, because I could not figure it out.
I would have to go back and look at what the actual answer is. I think it's like scientist finds potions, I think is what it was. And the pluralization had to be in a certain way. I think it was
that one was just potions. That was just the potions level. So I was like, I'm not fucking that part up.
Okay, gotcha. It's been like a week since I played it.
I'm trying to think too.
I think it was scientist finds potions, I think. Or it was finds or makes, one or the other. So it was very obtuse. I didn't like that one either.
I'm trying to remember even what was past the purple doors. You went through it because the guy was.
There was the little dudes in the chairs, wasn't
the guy was in the chair with the thing over his head,
mm-hmm.
and there was a room past that, right? That you had to go in and do something in, and then you came out and he was free.
Yeah,
I don't remember what happened in the room, the inner room.
I never freed any of the dudes. That was literally anything after that in the game is I am not going to be able to discuss because I did not experience.
Okay. So you never faced off against the AI, against Exile?
No.
Oh.
Was that cool?
That was my question I didn't finish earlier, so let's chat about that. So I wanted to ask you guys, what did you think of the ending of this game? When it all gets weird.
I read online something that somebody was saying that there are multiple endings to this game. Did you guys experience multiple endings to this game?
Okay, the ending I got is basically you meet the various peoples at the top of the tower, and you go up to this like pedestal thing and you activate it, and it projects a symbol up into the air that shifts around until it matches like the sacred symbol of each of their cultures. So one it's like God, one it's like duty, one it's something else, and and they're all part of the same symbol, and thus kind of conveying the overall story of the game, that there is more that unites us than divides us. So that's the ending I got. You look like you're confused, and Cody, I'm guessing you got something different.
No, I'm just reading the differences here between the two, because I took the multiple ending thing completely different. So I don't know if I'm wrong on this or not. I took it as the game ends, but it's not the ending of the game. And then you kept playing. But now I'm wondering if that is correct or if that is not correct, because I ended up with the same final ending Justin did. But I'll tell you what, the first time you get to the ending, you go up to the top of the stairs, and there's like the little platform up there, and you walk up one set of stairs, and then there was like something in the middle, right? The first time you're up there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you like hit that, and it triggers like the end, and it's like the fake ending. And then the AI goes fucking batshit. But I was irrationally angry that I didn't have a chance to run down the second set of stairs. Because I was like, oh my God, I fell for it. I went up to the altar and I clicked that thing, and I never saw where the second set of stairs went. And I was so mad. And then when everything happens, blah, 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 and you get back to the final ending again, when instead of running up and I saw all the people on the platform, I was like, screw them. I'm going for the second set of stairs right now, because I need to know where this goes. And you go down the second set of stairs, and you somehow come out where the first set of stairs came from.
I wondered about that too.
How does that make sense architecturally? But at that point, I was like, okay, this is not so bad then. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Dave, you didn't get to do the final boss battles then.
No. What was that? What was that like? Was it language based? Was it stealth based? Was it like that one time you had to slide a bunch of beds around? One of them with a ladder on it?
It wasn't like the bed sliding, but there was both stealth and a lot language both. There were like these death robots that were like guarding these rooms, and you had to sneak through. The first room was easy, the second room was like a little harder, the third room was a little harder, and the fourth room was supposedly the hardest. None of them were that bad, but
Right. But you just had to basically stay out of their line of sight and make it to the opposite side of the room where you'd see the big angry face of the AI that was, you know, exile. Yeah, it was controlling everybody, and you know, you would basically just like press a button and he would be deactivated for that section, and the dude in the chair would, you know, be freed from his VR dystopia or whatever.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and then trying to think, I think you did that like 4 or 5 times. 4 times?
4, I think.
Yeah, 4 times, and then the computer got like a little more angry every time you deactivated part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, once you had deactivated all of them, then Elon Musk's head explodes, and that's kind of the end, more or less.
It's Mark Zuckerberg, not Elon Musk. Zuck's the one who's always, you know, big on the metaverse and all that.
Okay, that's fair.
Which again is why the message of this game is go touch grass, because you know the alternative is being stuck in a virtual world where nothing really actually matters. So,
but there was some weird there. Honestly, that's kind of what I was hinting at earlier. Was like, did you guys like the last sequence in the game here? Because I actually, even though a couple of the puzzles were a little tricky in the end, I thought it did a really nice job of like throwing me off, because it actually was like the end, and I was like, oh shit, like did I win or did I lose? I don't really know. And then doesn't it take you back to the start screen?
Mm-hmm.
And you press start, and I'm like, what the fuck? That was the end of the game. And it takes you back to like level 1. And you're like, oh shit, the game's just like done. And then you like play, and like you start to notice like subtle differences in the beginning again. And then it was like, oh, okay, well, this doesn't, I mean, it had been hours since I played level 1, but I was like, this doesn't seem exactly as I remember it.
Mm-hmm.
And then by the time you get to like the Bard stage, for example, you're like, what the fuck is happening in the world right now? Like everything's off the loony train right now.
Yeah, like the streets are empty.
Everything like kept distorting more as like you kept getting closer to like the final
confrontation.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, I actually really liked the last part. I'm just looking at the picture.
Like solve all the puzzles again? Or did
no,
the language again? Or
you still have all your stuff you had. There's just like 4 more puzzles you have to solve, of only like 4 words each too. Like they're not huge puzzles, but he's like covers some of it, so you can't see stuff here and there, and like what you're trying to solve sometimes is like obscured a little bit, and so each one's like a little tricky.
Hints you normally
so that must
need, they've been like torn down and broken.
Endings.
And, maybe.
Oh, the monster does come back, Dave. P.S. So get ready.
Oh, I'm done. I'm not playing it anymore. So
he chases you. He chases you like through level 1. It looks like, basically, from the photos.
I think
here.
so. And from what I remember, yeah.
Including I saw a picture of this room, Justin. You remember the room you walked in that had like shit falling down everywhere, but there were like giant skulls in the room and everything? Kind of looked like a library or something. You were like running through, and you were like, well, what is this room? Like, I don't remember this at all.
And there's spots where I joked about like an MC Escher painting, but there are like, as you go further, there are like stairways on the wall and things where it's just
gets
like
trippy.
It doesn't connect the right way.
Yeah, for sure. Although I'm thinking more like Dave had made the comment earlier about like within the context of the game world, how does some of this stuff work? And you know, I was thinking about that for this like boss now. Like if you've unplugged like all of his terminals, like how is he? Are we in? I don't remember the very end now. Are we in one of the machines as well?
I think so.
And then we get ours off at the very end. Is that what it is?
Yeah,
or something like that.
Yeah. Which is why the world is able to be all janky and distorted and everything, I think. If
they were like, you are the one we have been waiting for. Yeah, it does have a nice little go outside and play type thing to it.
Yeah.
Way to spoil the end for me, you guys. Jerks.
It's still pretty cool to see, I gotta say. But am I wrong in that? And Dave, maybe then if you stop there, I don't know. Did you get the communicator screens, Dave, where it was like the 5th stage people talking to the other people, like on the teleport
in the
rooms?
middle,
not the middle, but like the one on the
right-hand side?
One on the right side.
One on the left where the two people would talk to each other and you had to fill in the dialogue.
That's on the right side.
Yeah.
I thought about going.
Okay.
One of the things I was going to do was try to fill those in, but I never did because I got to the man staring at the potions and I quit. So I never did that.
Did you finish all those, Justin?
Yeah.
I guess I did, because when the fifth people come up, like, you can't actually make them talk to each other, right? That made me confused as well, because suddenly it was like finally the fifth people are unlocked. All of the gates through the whole game had the other person finally.
And
but
I think
like they just were like looking at each other, and I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to do something to start dialogue between these people, or
I think the implication there is they're talking amongst themselves, like they are able to communicate now because everything else was connected, I think. But I don't quite remember.
Okay.
But I do know I did all the ones I was able to do. So
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That was all I had on that. So, whew. Man. Let's see. Anybody have any last comments here on this one?
That's it for me.
No, I guess I'm ready to rank it whenever you two are.
Yeah, I'm basically ready to go finish this up, I think, as well.
Okay.
Pretty sure we've given a pretty comprehensive overview of the game for everybody here. But I'll go first on this one and let you guys follow up if you want. I don't know that I have played a language-based game like this before, so this was definitely one I was excited to try. And once I got into it, there were definitely parts that frustrated me, but it was a game that at the end of the night, when I had like a half hour before, I really knew I should be going to bed, because we wake up at like 5:40 every day, and I'm like, I should be in bed right now, or sleeping, or getting ready for bed. But if I had a half hour, like, I was going down to play this game, and a half hour often turned into an hour or longer, even when I knew I should not be doing it. And I think last weekend there was like a night I was like, I'm just going to play this for like an hour and then head up. And then I think I stayed until the game was over. I think I stayed and finished it. But like, it was one that I was excited to play every time, is the point I'm getting at. And the levels were somewhat different, with the like chase the kid and the sneak around and give the monkey the pepper. Justin.
I'm sorry I let the animals starve.
Yeah, right.
3 different peppers to 3 different monkeys. So yeah, you really let them down.
Yeah, no, I liked a lot about this. I really did enjoy the time with this one. Oh, I know one thing I wanted to ask you guys before I throw a number on this.
Yeah.
Anytime you what was it here? Anytime you died, I'm trying to think, how did you die in the game besides the monster? Was there other ways you died?
The guards, like the warriors, they could catch you, and
oh yeah. So
Yeah.
if they saw you, basically there was like an eyeball that like zoomed at the screen, right?
And the
then,
robots, of course.
and then the monster had like the arm that
It's
like scratched at you. And I guess you do end up kind of being like in VR, essentially, that you're escaping from by the end. But I had wondered the whole game, like, if the entire thing was just that guy's imagination, because like anytime anything happened to him, he like basically opened his eyes and shut it. So I was like, oh, that's weird. They're giving us this like subtle hint through the whole game that like you see an eye image when like the screen has this big black eye that like flies at you. I didn't know how to explain the monster as much, maybe just monsters in your mind or something. But anyway, just a thought. I don't know if anybody had anything on that. Kind of going between 2 numbers here, but definitely enjoyed quite a bit about this. I guess I'll split the difference. I'll say Chants of Sennaar. I'll go 8.5 for me. That was between 8 and 9. I think it's really an 8 game, but I think my enjoyment with it was a 9. So I'll say 8.5.
Okay. I've played a lot of puzzle games in my time. And this is, I think, the only one that centered around language. The closest thing I can think of to anything I've played before that had a similar approach was the sections in Rama, based off of the like Rendezvous with Rama series by Arthur C. Clarke, where you had to kind of translate between different number systems, like base 8, base 16, I think was one of them, base 10, but that was just like numbers instead of language. So this was a very unique thing for me. That said, it it was unique, it was memorable, but it didn't quite grab me the way a few other classics in the genre have. It's no The Witness, which is still my absolute gold standard for a top-notch adventure slash puzzle game. By the same token, though, it was no Riven, which is my kind of my low bar for adventure games because some of the puzzles in that were just stupid. To find the exact pixel you have to click on and hope that you get it right, that sort of thing. Will I remember this game for a while? Yeah. But is it one that's really going to resonate with me throughout the years, like some of the best of the genre? Not quite. But I enjoyed my time with it. And despite a few frustrating parts, I think it's a worthwhile game to try out. So I'm going to have to go with a 7 out of 10 for this one.
I've already essentially given away my score earlier. I said it was a 6. Map system would have taken it to a 9, and I truly believe that. But if you guys know me, then you know that a 6 is actually not a bad score. That's basically me saying that I liked it better than 60% of games.
Name those 60%. I want a list.
So it's essentially a mild recommendation. If you see anything about this game and it intrigues you, then you should play this game. And hopefully you won't run into the frustrations that I did, and hopefully won't let those ruin it for you the way they did in some ways ruin it for me. But despite those frustrations, I had a good time with this game. And I really applaud the developers for what they've done with it. There's a lot of good there that I think could be elevated to great with just a few quality of life changes. And I do want to go ahead and, well, 2 things. Number one, Justin, The Witness is a top 5 all-time game for me, so I'm right there with you on
Awesome.
that. I don't other than both being puzzle games, I don't really know if these are comparable. I do think that we should at some point follow this up by playing Heaven's Vault, which is another figure out a language based game, but this one with much more branching storyline choices. New Game Plus that lets you continue to expand your language from like basic caveman sentences into like full paragraphs. I have not played a ton of Heaven's Vault, but I have wanted to for a long time. And I also have I'll just tease this a little bit, a shameful confession about Heaven's Vault that is I've never told anyone and is legitimately
welcome back to Dave AMA. Go ahead, Dave.
No, we have to play the game and do a podcast for in order for me to reveal
he's
said
holding it
shameful
ransom.
Confession. That's right. That's exactly right. So come on back, listener.
Let me put it on my list here. I do see there's a Switch version, so that's good.
It's on Switch, it's on Steam. I have it on PlayStation, so we can play 3 different versions and compare notes, but I think it's probably comparable across the different platforms.
Interesting. So we got a 7. You said 7, Justin?
Yes.
7, 6, and 9, 13, 22. So a little over 7 point decimal overall for this one tonight. So pretty decent. Yeah, probably. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, if like the big AAA blockbusters that are coming out aren't really your thing, and you're wondering what else is out there that no one's talking about, this is a good one to check out, just for something different and very unique. Or maybe not unique if Heaven's Vault does something similar, but pretty unusual.
I would still qualify this one as unique, certainly. Yeah.
Okay.
Man, the plural thing screwed me up so bad when I got to the second world. I was like, what? What is... Oh, no. And then the third world screwed me up even more with their language, which I got it pretty quick. But then there's like, when you... if you didn't translate all the communications between the two cultures. There's the time that like the warriors are talking to the bards, and the warriors like they shifted their sentence around with some inversion, and they were like, I don't remember how they did it, but they were like object, subject, verb, and I was like, wait, so it's already at the beginning of the sentence? So would that mean the bards don't put it at the beginning of the? I'm so confused right now. We had to try some different ways on that, but we got through that one also.
When I got to the bard level and there were multiple characters admiring themselves in mirrors, I was like, what is happening here? And then when that turned out to be a word, I was like, whatever this word is, it's very important. And it was not. It was just like beauty, and it was not important at all.
The two bards who were like holding each other and like dancing or something, and I was like, I don't know what they're trying to say. When they finally, like, I got it right finally, and they were like brothers, and I was like, that was not one of my 10 clues.
I thought that word was drunk.
I was like, we are playing
drunk.
Yeah,
blank are we? And I was like, fucking, what's happening?
Oh, that's funny. I see this. I was going to tell you about this other game too, Justin, because it's just coming out on Switch, but I see it's already been out for over a year on your PC, which is the Forgive Me Father game. Did you play that?
That one's on my radar. I have not played it, but it does look like a nice Lovecraftian take on an old school boomer shooter.
Yeah, I just saw it's basically what the Nintendo preview was like, first person shooter Lovecraft, and I was like, oh, I gotta tell Justin if he hasn't heard of it, but
yeah, I haven't played it yet, but it looks fun. So
okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Well, this is going to drop again, and then we'll follow this up next week by jumping into Spooktober, which means you won't hear from Joe for a month. So there's that. Always an advantage. We do. I think we do have an episode of TV or something in the middle there, though. So maybe he'll pop his head up. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
But we said he liked his last. What did we do with him? We did something spooky with him. I don't remember what he joined us for.
I mean, we did the Vampire Escape Room, but that's
no podcast topic. I mean, he did the one that he said he owed, but I don't remember what that was. But anyway,
yeah.
All right, everybody, take care. Let's see. Tonight, I guess, friends, occasionally not disagreeing. We will each leave by singing the theme song in one of the languages from a certain people from the tower in Chants of Sennaar. So, till next time, everybody. This has been. Dip dop dip.
Disagree.
Dip dop.
Not.
Wait, I just sound like the Swedish chef. Was that stormtroopers firing lasers?
Sure, why not?
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Have a good one.